Hello, I'm Jerry Malloy. Welcome to my Play Right Away Total Beginners video. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about playing with the right hand. The right hand plectrum or fingers. Now, there's a big decision to make. If you start off, you want to play with the plectrum or you're going to play with your fingers. Guitarists play with either. Mark Knopfler seldom uses a plectrum. He normally plays with his finger. Jeff Beck started off playing with a plectrum, but now totally just uses his right hand for playing. Joe Satriani always uses a plectrum for lead things. Eric Clapton certainly uses a plectrum the majority of the time. So it's a choice. I used to wonder why, when people came to me for lessons, some people would play with their fingers and some people would play with plectrums. And I'd never ever told them either just to play with your fingers or just play with the plectrum. What I found out was that when people play classical guitar, to begin with, maybe when they're fairly young, they play with the fingers. They play with their right hand fingers, and the first two fingers alternate on the strings. So they have the thumb would be sitting there on the second string, and the first fingers would be plucking upwards that way. Then if they change strings, the thumb would rest there and their fingers would play like this. Quite difficult for them to change their habit when they've learned all the way to play with those fingers like that. But the modern rock guitarists, people like that, when they play, you'd use maybe thumb and fingers. So you'd play, maybe your thumb would play one string, to play like that. You certainly have more control of the strings if you do play with your fingers, but when you have a plectrum, it's more percussive and it gives you more volume as well. And you can do up and down strokes with the plectrum. Alternate picking is that sort of thing. Other people that start with an electric guitar will play with the plectrum, and I found this out. They simply play with the plectrum because they say, the guitar came with the plectrum and I thought I had to use it. Now, to sum it all up, either play with plectrum or with fingers. Either is correct. You can certainly do things with your fingers that you can't do with a plectrum. Vice versa, you can also do things with a plectrum that you can't do with your fingers. So probably playing both ways is advisable. Whichever way, if you start off just playing with your fingers, when you're playing open strings, the simplest way is just to use your thumb. It's certainly easier to change strings when you're playing with your fingers because you're actually in touch with them, you're actually feeling them. Whereas with a plectrum, you've got something in between your fingers here with which to pick with. At some stage, if you start with your fingers, you will need to learn to use a plectrum. So to sum it all up, it's a good idea to be able to use both. But to begin with, just go with what feels natural to you. That's my debate about fingers or plectrum. Thanks very much for watching my video, and we'll see you with another one very soon.